Hello and welcome back to the next chapter of the calculate function. And this time we'd like to talk about modifiers and how calculate allows us to modify relationships in Power BI. At first, let me actually double click on this page and name this maybe, let's say, keep filters. So keep filters. And then we simply click on the plus symbol to create a new page. And here I'd like to display at first my, let's say, the dates table. And from my dates table, I like to see the date. By default, I have the hierarchy here, but in this case, I remove the day as well as the quarter here, just to keep the year and the month combination for now. Okay. So, and as I said before, you can disable the auto date time feature if you want in Power BI using under File the setting options, right? Go to File Settings, so File as an example, and then go to, in this case, Settings, Options and Settings here, go to Options, and here you can specify whether you want to actually keep the auto date time and the hierarchy by default or not, depending on the model size, right? If you have a big model, I would disable that. If you have a small model and also only practice with Power BI, then you can leave it enabled if you want to keep the hierarchy, okay? So far, so good. Now let me actually create here a bigger size. Go in here and say for the values, let's say here I'd like to increase the text size and put in a 15 in here, okay? So, all right, so we got the year and the month. And if we want to evaluate here now the measure, let's say in our case, they'll go with the total sales again. So I take the total sales option here. There we go. We can see, of course, I need to select the visual first. Make sure you select the table first, and then you tick on the total sales. And now we can see the values here for each year-month combination. You can see the sales value. So far, so good. Now, calculate as a modifier allows us to modify a relationship. So as an example, in our model here, remember in the data view here, if I go to my table here, my orders table, let me tick this option. We next to the orders date, which we currently use in the relation, we also have a ship date, right? This one. So because the order date and the ship date are actually different dates, right? Because we do not always ship the freight on the same day. That is why there's a difference in here. And if there's a difference, that means that if we use the ship date instead of the order date, then also the values for the total sales by month would change, right? Because it could be that we sell the product in July, but you only ship the product in August. Could be the case. So that's why the numbers would be different. So what if you like to see the total sales numbers for the order date, but also you would like to know, okay, this was the amount of ordered sales, but what of those sales were actually shipped? So if you want to do this as well, you need to go to the model view here and also create a relationship here first between the date here and the ship date. So currently, if you hover over the relationship, you can see date and order date are connected. But in our case, if I scroll down, what I want is I want to have a relationship between the ship date here and the date here. I can do that by dragging the date here and also drop it on the ship date, right? Like that. If I do that, you see that another relationship gets established here. I can hover over it, I can see, there it is. However, there's a difference, and the difference is the dotted line. Hopefully you can see that. The line is dotted here, but here the line is actually a normal line. So what's the difference? Well, the dotted line is referring to the fact that this relation is currently inactive. Because Power BI, by default, only allows one relationship to be active between tables at the same time. So we can make this relationship active if we want. However, if we do that, then the relationship between date and order will automatically convert it into an inactive relationship. As I said, we only can have one active relationship. So what to do? Well, we could create the inactive relationship first, as we've done here, and then use this inactive relationship and make it active within a measure. And that is meant by modifiers. So calculate has the power to make an inactive relationship active. And in order to do this, we can go back to the model here. We need to use another function, which is a so-called use relationship function. So let's do that. Let's actually right-click on orders table and create a new measure. Tick this option. And then for this, we simply say for the measure itself, we would like to create here our shipping sales. Let's call this shipping sales is equal to. And let me go to new line and say for the shipping sale, this is actually calculate. Again, it's the calculate function which we need. We need an expression In this case, it's our total sales. So the expression is the same, but this time we're gonna modify, and that's why it's called modifier here, the evaluation, in this case, the relationship. Instead of using the default relationship between the dates table and the orders table, which is based on the order date, we use the use relationship function here. And let's actually read through it. Specifies an existing relationship to be used in an evaluation of DAX expression. The relationship is defined by naming as arguments the two columns that serve as endpoints. Okay? So what this means is it is leveraging an inactive relationship, and it needs the columns from the both tables in order to specify, okay, what is the relationship I need to make active. So the first one will be from the dates table, the dates, which is this one here. And then the second one will be from the orders table. And on the orders table, we need to search for the ship date. So maybe it's easier to search for ship date here immediately. Okay, orders ship date, like that. And that's basically all we need to specify. Then we can close parentheses here and also close the calculate function. So this now means we use a modifier, which is in this use relationship, and the use relationship in combination with the calculate function allows us to modify a relationship, in this case, make it from the inactive to active. And if we do that and press enter, we can now evaluate our shipping dates, even though the relationship in the model remains inactive. So for all the other measures you create, the relationships will still be based on the orders table if you don't switch it to ship date in the model view itself. But for this specific measure, the relationship will be used between date and ship date and not between date and order date. Okay? So that's what's meant with when we say calculate can be used as a modifier in combination with a function like use relationship. So if we evaluate that now, if I take the table here and go to our ship date sales, so shipping sales, here we go. Let me tick this option here, and we say these are basically the new values you can see, right? So you see that here in July, as an example, we see a total sales number of 34,000 and so on, but actually based on what we have shipped in this month, it's much less, right? So that means we have simply dates for the shipping dates, which have been then maybe in August or even later, right? So that is why there's a difference between those two. So this is based on the order date, and these values are based on the ship date. You can see in total, it's exactly the same. However, there's also value up here, the 26,000 and so on, and this is actually blank here. Why is that? What's the issue here? Well, it is not really an issue. The reason why you can see values here, which are basically here blank, is simply based on the data model structure. Because if I go to or the data itself, the data set, if I go to the data view here, and you go to the ship date, which you have here, you can click on this option, and you will see here, there are actually blanks inside. So if I untick everything and go to blank, just to filter the data and click OK, you will see that here, we obviously have, at the end of our data set, we have order dates. And for these order dates, when the order has been placed, actually so far we have not shipped anything. So there is no ship date in place. So these orders still need to be shipped in the future. And that is why a date currently is missing. And that's the reason why you see for all these orders, you can see there are sales here, right? But for the ship date, the value is blank. And so the sum of all these sales with a blank ship date, this is the value which appears up here, this one, okay? And that is why you don't see anything here. That's the only reason. So it's not an issue. It's simply based because there is no actually valid date for this amount of sales so far, okay? But in total, important, this is exactly the same number. Of course, you can filter this if you don't want to see that. Can be done in the visual itself or using the filter pane. It's up to you. But just to explain why there is actually data in here and there's nothing in here, okay? That's the reason for that, because in the data itself, there is so far no shipping date for that. And that's it. That's it, how you can use calculate with or as a modifier in combination with use relationship. So let me actually double click here and name this properly. Let's say modifier for now. Press enter. Then we save the Power BI file and actually now end the video. So thanks a lot for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Until then, best guys.